Math Blast 11. Appropriate metric units. Circle the most appropriate unit. Volume of a pop bottle, 2 liters or 2 milliliters. Well, I know that pop is often sold in 2-liter bottles, so this may be a good option. But let's look at the 2 milliliters. I can think of a milliliter as the amount of maybe 1 drop from an eyedropper. So 2 drops from an eyedropper would not be a good amount of pop in a pop bottle. So we're going to go with the 2 liters. The weight of a banana, 126 grams or 126 kilograms. I'm going to use my benchmark for a gram. I can visualize a gram as a paper clip. 126 paper clips sounds pretty appropriate for the weight of a banana. I can visualize a kilogram as a textbook. 126 books stacked together would probably be way too much for the weight of a banana. That would be one very heavy banana. So we are going to go with 126 grams. Rounding. Round 172 to the nearest 10. I'm going to draw a vertical number line. Since I'm rounding to the nearest 10, I'm asking myself, how many tens make up 172? There are 17 tens in 172, which is equivalent in standard form to 170. If I add on one more 10, if I had to round up, it would be 18 tens, which is equivalent to 180 in standard form. 17 tens and 18 tens. I need to figure out what's the midpoint. The number that falls right between 170 and 180 is 175. I'm going to locate my number 172 on the vertical number line now. I have 170, 171, 72, 173, 174. So I can see that 172 is right about here. Now, I'm going to ask myself, does the 172 fall at or above the midpoint? If so, it would round up. Or does it fall below the midpoint? If so, it would round down. In this case, it does fall below the midpoint, so it rounds down to 170. Round 172 to the nearest 100. Again, I'm going to draw a vertical number line. But in this case, I'm being asked to round to the nearest 100. So I'm asking myself, how many hundreds make up my number 172 right now? I have 100. In standard form, that is 100. If I add on one more 100, I would have 2 hundreds, which is equal to 200 in standard form. The midpoint, the number that falls right between 100 and 200, I know is 150. Now I want to locate my 172 on the number line. I know in the middle of 150 and 200 is 175. So I'm going to put it just below that, 172. Since my number falls above the midpoint, it's going to round up. Any number that falls at or above the midpoint rounds up. Subtraction. Subtract 72 minus 22. In this case, I'm going to use the standard algorithm. It's already written in a vertical format with my place values all lined up. So I have 2 ones that I'm going to subtract 2 ones from. That leaves me with 0 ones. I have 7 tens that I'm going to subtract 2 tens from, which leaves me 5 tens. So the difference, the answer to my subtraction problem here, is 50. I have 422 minus 87. I could line up my place values and write it in a vertical format and use the standard algorithm to solve. In this case, though, I'm going to choose a different method to model. I am going to solve it using the arrow method. I'm going to start at 422, and I'm going to take away pieces of 87 until I've taken away a total of 87. So I like the idea of taking away 22 first to get me to 400. Now I'm going to take away 50, because I know 400 minus 50 is 350. So far, I've taken away 72. I still have more to take away. Let's take away 10. That puts me at 340. And right now, I've taken away a total of 82. So I still have 5 more that I need to take away. That puts it at 335. So the difference in 422 and 87 is 335. Perimeter. Find the perimeter of the shape. The perimeter is the distance around the two-dimensional figure. I can find the perimeter by adding up the measurements of all of my sides. So here I have 5 units. Here I would have 2 units. I know that because the opposite sides on a rectangle are equal in length. With that in mind, since this side is 5, we know this side is also 5 units. And so now I can find the perimeter. I'm going to go around the rim of the figure and add up the total distance around this two-dimensional rectangle. So I'm going to say the perimeter is 5 plus 2 plus 5 plus 2. I know 5 and 2 is 7, and 5 and 2 is 7, and 7 and 7 is 14. The perimeter is 14 units. The perimeter of this rectangle is 18 units. What are the lengths of the unlabeled sides? Well, given this side is 2 units, in a rectangle, once again, the opposite sides are of equal length. So I know this side also has to be 2 units. And if the perimeter, the distance all the way around this figure, is 18, then I'm going to take 18 and subtract the 2 and 2, which is 4. And I know I still have 14 units that need to be equally shared among these 2 sides. So each of these sides would be 7 units. 7 plus 2 is 9. 7 plus 2 is 9. And 9 and 9 is 18. That's my total perimeter. Word problems. Mendy brought 2 bags of candy. One bag had 125 pieces and the other bag had 176 pieces. She handed out 220 pieces to kids in costumes. How many pieces of candy does Mendy have left? All right, I want to figure out first, how much candy did she start with? She had 2 bags, and one of those bags had 125 pieces, and the other bag had 176 pieces. So if I add those together, I'll get the total number of pieces that she started with. I know 5 plus 6 is 11. That's 1 1 and 1 10. 7 plus 2 is 9, plus 1 is 10. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. 301 pieces of candy is what she started with. Now it tells us that she handed out 220 pieces to kids in costumes. So 301, I'm going to take away 220 pieces to figure out how much she had left. 1 minus 0 is 1. 0 minus 2, well, I don't have any 10s here, so I can't take 2 10s away. I'm going to come over here and borrow one of my hundreds. That makes that a 2. And I know if I take 100 and rename those as 10s, there are 10 10s in 100. So 10 minus 2 is 8, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So 81 pieces of candy were left. I'm going to state Mendy has 81 pieces of candy left.